Tom was a bit of an outlier of society. Nowadays it was cool to be a weeb and nerd. Back in his early childhood, oh how often had he been mocked and ridiculed for his hobbies. Add to that a troubled academic career and an unrequited love, and there you have Tom. By no means was he a failure or an outcast, just a bit strange. He managed his college degree only so, but found work at a good company. Mostly, he worked from home and only occasionally traveled from his parents' London town house into the office to work. Friends were also not the real problem. Tom made fast and easy friends these days, hadn't been easy before. But long exposure to group projects and enthusiastic professors could work wonders on a shy lad. The thing that was missing in his life was, so he thought at least, higher purpose. Often he dreamed of having power, wealth and status. He loved to distract himself with games, novels and movies. There the protagonist never had a dull day in their life, fighting off demons and monsters in other dimensions. Dungeons and Dragons had been a hobby of his for nearly 10 years by now. He was not that keen on the rules, yet how much fun it was in the early days to venture out with your friends and explore a new and foreign world together. He missed it dearly nowadays. They still played as a matter of fact, but there was something missing for him. It was just a game. The suspension of disbelief he had as a child was long buried under mountains of depression and regret. So Tom sat at his desk at home, scrolled through the web and started to make a new D&D character. Argentarius is so cool. Well, using a Latin name is a bit of a cliché, but it's not as if there would be anyone to judge me, right? What would be good setting for him to be in? Wildmount, Forgotten Realms, or something different? I really can't decide. Whatever, I'll make him a dimensional traveler that can survive anywhere, fit in or just hide. Let's do a max level build. I never got that far in any of my games. Race? Well, let's take Changeling. They get to stay in any humanoid form without limit. If they do not die. Anyway, of course it needs to be a wizard. They may be hard to play and reach seldom max level, but they are the best example of be careful who you call ugly in wizard school. Was Wish really that overpowered? If you use it to create a simulacrum, they can cast it without limit, right? Ah yes, one of the authors said that it is indeed possible. How boring. You can just make infinite gold, resources, and a constant supply of construct wizard bodyguards. Okay, if even with this power I would not dare to fuck with forces like demigods, angels, archwizards, or even armies. D&D is so scary for lone wizards. Set an 8-man, mid-level party against my max-level wizard and I'd be glad to escape. For the other spells I get to choose, I believe, 44 and can prepare 25 each day. Let's just take a few I like and the rest from the internet. Everything with illusions, transmuting, dimensions and healing is a must. Also charms are useful. True polymorph with contingency is such a cheat, well the author allowed it so I will not be stingy. Being able to transform into any creature of your level for 1 hour and stay as the creature forever if you like is so great. Got to think of contingency first, or you got no way to dispel the damn thing. Modify memory is a must. What else? Yeah, starter items. Scholar's backpack, dagger, spellbook and a wand. I like Harry Potter, must have read like a dozen fanfics, but wands are really unpractical. I can't walk around waving a stick in people's faces. Still better than materials or a staff. For the other stuff, normally your dungeon master gives you the items and gold. There are lists on the web for new high-level characters that I will look into tomorrow. I better go to bed now. I am so incredibly tired. Tom brushed his teeth, washed up and went to bed. He fell into a deep slumber. His dreams, or better nightmares, consisting of his wizard, Argentarius, getting torn to shreds by hordes of devils, after he tried to sell them transmuted gold. He awoke with a start. What the hell? Why does this goddamn spell only last 1 hour and is even concentration? He rolled over and groaned in pain as a small wooden object poked him. Since when do I have a wand? I never bought one. Is this from my sister? Didn't know she got back into Harry Potter. As he grasped the wand in his hand, he felt a strange tingling. Don't tell me. A few panicked minutes later, after he had calmed down, he examined his new property. A wand, probably holy with dragon heartstring and 11 inches. He only knew the last one for certain, curtsy to his ruler. An old-fashioned backpack with his scholar supplies, including parchment and ink. A crude-looking dagger. Lastly, a small leather notepad, which looked suspiciously like his diary and now apparently served as his most valuable possession, his spellbook. Fuck me sideways, did I get the budget isekai package? Is the hero not supposed to be transported to another world? Why do I have to travel myself? I don't even have a fork attuned to any plane of existence. The strangest thing is, why am I level 20? What is the fun in standing at the pinnacle of the arcane if you had not even jumped over a pebble to climb the highest mountain? The momentary excitement fled Tom's mind as the dark kept creeping back inside. What was he to do with all that power? He did not want to be kidnapped by the government or be some circus act for the world to gawk at. They would force him into the military, send him overseas as an agent or assassin. If he played his cards right, he could go around saving people and be a hero all right. Yet he did not think that was in his nature. A wizard was to be reclusive, secretive, and egocentric, right? I am going to try out my new powers. He went into the bathroom and raised his wand in one and his spellbook in the other hand. Okay, I got 5 cantrips. I should be able to cast them as many times as I want. Somatic only. Here goes nothing, shade water. His hair stood on end, he shook a bit and concentrated hard on the water inside the sink. It moved, parted, formed 3 cubes and froze in a few seconds. Tom's eyes lit up. That was amazing. The rush of adrenaline in his veins gave birth to a new feeling inside him, ambition. What could he accomplish with his new power? Ever idiot could throw fireballs at the enemy, but it took a lifetime to master the intricate rules and mechanisms of the wizard class. Like a Swiss pocket knife, he could just bludgeon his foes to death, or he could weave intricate plots and stand up to wizard's reputation as the true utility class. Oh, I forgot, was Argentarius not a changeling? I don't intend to kill people, and the things I want to do are not really illegal. Yet I could do without mortals wondering how I teleported to different continents. The FBI, CIA, and others were, memes aside, probably no joke. I should have 148 health points, HP, quite a lot. A normal human has in D&D at least, about 10 horsepower. For reference, an ancient red dragon has over 500 horsepower. I just don't trust the stereotype of the bullets ricochet off the hide. The dragon would probably die if you pummeled it with enough rockets and armor-piercing rounds. So I should probably change my appearance later. Well, let's try that before I go outside. I am Argentarius. I cannot become overconfident. In D&D you always have a party to resurrect you. I am alone in this, and for that matter, all worlds. Death is even a nice option when I think of the horrors awaiting in most planes of existence. Note to self, do not enter the Shadow Realm, 9 Hells, or the Abyss. Can I even go there? What about Wildmount, or rather Exandria, I should say? Oh, I want to visit Nicodranas so bad. Where was I? Ah yes, not dying. I need to be careful, I cannot be discovered. Nor in this nor the other worlds. I need to gather as much intel as I can and build my strength. No jumping in portals or tombs. What do I do about my work and family? Fake my own death? No, that would be cruel. I am also not yet ready to sever my ties from this world. What if I am now the guardian of this world or something? More likely that a deity decides to crush this dimension after I use wish for the 100th time to save 5 gold pieces, GP, on spell components. Ah yes, wish. I shall soon try if any angry deity decides to smite me for bending reality to my whims. First order, I will create an underground base. I would prefer a mage tower, but I have no idea how permanent illusion magic would work with planes and birds. Tom went into his family's cellar. He flipped open his spellbook and searched for a while. It is really useful that there are so many notes in here. No wonder wizards are screwed when they lose these things. That is a candidate for my first wish right here. With transmute rock I can make a 40-foot cube into mud, get it all lined up and disintegrate most of it. Fuck, transmute rock is not prepared. I hate this mechanic. Do I really have to take a long rest of 8 hours to change my spells? Our short internet search confirmed Tom's suspicion. So he just got a long rest, which thankfully was accepted as in the form of watching YouTube. After that he sat over his list of spells and pondered for another hour which spells to prepare. Back again. Now filthy stone your mine. Transmute rock. He made hand gestures and waved his wand. The wall and the stone behind it soon turned to mud before his eyes. Good thing my imagination is quite vivid. I could not think on how difficult this would be elsewise. And now for the nuke of the small man, disintegrate. Tom felt as if the world itself bent, as the mud he had gathered just vanished from existence without any sound. This spell is way too dangerous. And why on earth is it a green ray? It even looks evil. But it just got rid of a 10-foot cube. Whatever, I got one more 6th level slot and I'm just gonna cast it at 7th for the last cube. After getting rid of most of the mud he turned the rest back into stone and cast wall of stone to make the cave look a bit nice and more stable. Now for the door, stone shape. A 5 feet high door formed in the entrance. Why on earth would you limit the spell of 5 feet? Now it looks like a hobbit lives here. I guess I should be grateful for the hinges and the latch. Now again for the frame. Tom made a discreet sliding mechanism to hide his new door from prying eyes, and deposited a shelf in front of the entrance just to make sure. He locked himself inside, left the key inside the lock. Now for the fun bit. Gods, if you can hear me, I swear I will not mess with you and am just researching the arcane. Oh my patron Azuth, High One, Lord of Spells, Patron of Wizards, the First Magister. Spare your follower, who only wishes to pursue the arcane as a means in of itself. Hear my prayer, I do not believe the foolish lie that you perished. I will hold steadfast to my faith. Most of the stuff he had read this morning on the wiki. But he knew it never hurt to butter the gods up a bit. He was also honest with his prayers, he dared not be otherwise. If this world allowed him to be a level 20 wizard, then there were gods for certain somewhere in the multiverse. And he did not wish to suffer all eternity in abyss or limbo, because no one wanted his poor soul. Also note to self, do not make any deals with devils. Fastest way to get an express ticket to the bottom of the 9 hells. Although devil politics and power games seemed very intriguing, he would rather polymorph into a bailer and visit as a tourist. Now or never, I wish, in accordance with the rules, to replicate the spell simulacrum. A feeling like warm chocolate milk, cookies, and ice cream washed over his senses. For just a moment he felt absolute bliss before the spell took hold. He understood now why this spell was so addicting. The space in front of him warped and reality itself, unwillingly, bend. Snow flew and slowly started to form a statue. He saw himself staring back at him. First in isoblue and without clear features, then his exact likeness. Wow, really like a mirror. Now I have to command it. You are to act as my mortal double. Do everything like I did the past years. Just follow the normal routine and try not to draw attention. Write a short report every day about important conversations and such and archive them in my old room upstairs. You are not to cast any magic. Only if the original, me, is in danger or I order you otherwise. If you are to die because of an accident or other violent means, try to avoid it to the best of your ability with illusions and deception. Use the sending spell immediately, to inform me. The construct just nodded and headed out the cellar. Only now did Tom notice that the thing was naked. Tom used a few more spells to make the room more comfortable and started to prepare a spot for his teleportation circle. Normally I would take an entire year to make one, which was insane, mind you. But he could just use wish to replicate the spell without any difficulty. This only strengthened his opinion that the spell was way too overpowered. Even if he could only cast it once per long rest. The main limitation of wish was that anything other than replicating an existing spell, mind you without pesky things like gold chalices or ivory statues being consumed, was that it could literally kill you. If you wished for too much, then the dungeon master, DM, could just curse you to oblivion. Here lay the problem. How was his DM? He himself certainly not. Some entity had decided to make him Argentarius, for some unknown purpose or just on a whim. He had to make sure to not piss of that entity. Some divining and plain communication was to be done later. Now he lay down in his own makeshift bed and slept inside his Learman's tiny hut, which made an opaque dome of 10-foot radius. Inside it was dry, warm, and he could change the lighting. The next day Argentarius, from now on he will call himself that, cast the wish spell again. The same, no, another self, stood before him. Well. What do we have here? The construct just looked at him. He coughed. I do not intend to stay inside this cellar forever, so would you be so kind as to cast wish? Please wish for a piece of ivory worth 25,000 GP. The rules were very specific on what you could get. Especially if you wanted to remain in one piece. The double looked at him and spoke the words. Argentarius just managed to take a step back as a giant tusk, of over 20 feet length, materialized in front of him. What the hell? Is ivory that cheap? His construct looked at him and said in an unnervingly similar voice to his, in the moment I spoke the wish, I could picture that the one you wanted would have been even larger. Somehow I know that this is worth about 18,000 GP. Argentarius was a bit irritated by the act of talking to himself. You are a construct, but have all my abilities correct? Can you use the changeling one? In response, his own, no the construct's, face changed into that of his dad. Oh please not that one. Ha, I got it. Changed to look like a Yakuza with tattoos and shit. His construct obeyed the command and changed in a few seconds. Now the only thing missing is a good black suit and you need a name. How about Itchy? Itchy took his fate in stride. The spell stated that they were like screenshots of yourself the moment they were created. They could not learn, regain spell slots or even heal. Just repaired, or cast again after melting. Also they had his hit points. 74 hit points, HP, were still plenty for goons. They were him, so they were useless in a melee if they did not polymorph. Here in the mortal world they shall serve him as a batteries and meat shield. Now for the really exciting bit. My new home. Well, the mobile one. Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion was a 7th level conjuration. It took a tiny silver spoon, a piece of marble and a small ivory portal, worth together 15 GP, to cast. Tom, his first construct, had already bought him some silver and marble in London. Completely legal one might add. The spell lasted 24 hours, took 1 minute to cast. The functions of the spell itself were rather complicated and mysterious. To put it simply, it created an, if closed, invisible door, which lead inside a manor, tower, palace or whatever the caster desired. It was another dimension, a demiplane. The limitations were as follows: the size is limited to 50 times 10 feet cubes, so 5,000 square feet. It can host a party or ball with 100 people and a 9-course meal. Even up to 100 servants are included. Do not ask yourself about the moral consequences of that one. Design and layout can be chosen every day. The only real downside is that you have to move out every 24 hours and recast the whole thing. Everything you put inside just comes out in between casting. But he could remedy that disadvantage with his personal demoplane. The spell Demoplane, 8th level conjuration, created 30-foot cube storage rooms. Very useful for storing valuables, clones, constructs or enemies. You just better make sure to remember all your own demoplanes. Nothing like a plane full of gold, but no way to find the damn door. By now Ichi had finished carving the ivory portal out of a small piece of tusk. For now he concentrated on his mansion and cast the spell. He imagined a comfortable, Japanese-style, mansion, with a big garden at the center and a small onsen. The spell took hold and a wooden door with a carved dragon appeared in front of him. It would only be invisible to others. Well Ichi, off we go then. After he sent Ichi to create more ivory spell components, he headed straight for the onsen and relaxed in the perfectly warm natural water. The sulfuric smells were absent, just as he wished, and he enjoyed some eggs, obviously cooked in the onsen water, and sake. He wanted some privacy, so he chose his servants to be invisible for now. He, against his better judgment, thought of the servants and where they came from. The spell allowed him to make them anything, and do everything a human could. That he was basically enslaving spirits and souls and forcing them to obey him made him a bit uncomfortable. Better to keep a respectful distance to his servants. Argentarius went to sleep on a wonderfully supporting tatami mattress after a very encompassing dinner of sushi, katsu ramen and some mochi as dessert. The first order on his list was to, you guessed right, make more constructs or yakuza. After creating Ni, he had him make San and San make Yon. This went on until he reached Ju and ran out of the black suits Tom bought him. Now he sat on his personal throne and overlooked his first 10 goons. All had varying faces, each resembling, what he and them hoped, to be intimidating bodyguard faces. They all bowed low and greeted him. Archwizard Argentarius, servant of Azuth. He nodded satisfied. If he heard that he was a follower of Azuth a few more times he might believe it himself. Also calling yourself Archwizard was probably all right, considering it were his own constructs calling him that inside the demoplane he created. He shouted, "Demoplane!" A shadowy door appeared on the side. All except Ju, you take the ivory and store it inside, the door is here for 1 hour. Ju, you will come inside with me. They obeyed and soon the sound of heavy grunting and cursing could be heard as 9 wizards tried to lift something heavy. He entered the, not suspicions-looking, door after ushering Ju inside. It really was just a 30-feet cube made of wood and stone. He wondered if the air got replenished. Well, he will soon find out. Ju cast the wish spell to clone me, the original. Just the body, not the tube. I will wish that tomorrow. Make my clone the same age. After the spell was cast, an identical copy appeared on the floor. The difference between simulacrum and clone was that clone was a get-out-of-jail-free card. If you died somewhere, your soul would return to the clone. With all your newest memories intact and everything. It even worked if you died of old age. The main downside being that you had to die. Which often presented a surprisingly large problem, for most demons and explicitly devils like to play with you for a while longer and trap your soul somehow. So better not to bet on a favorable ruling from the DM. The clone would stay inside the tube, which he wished after another long rest and resummoning the tower, for all eternity, fresh and waiting for his soul. The next weeks he made some preparations before heading out. For one instance, he created about a dozen clones inside nice and shiny tubes, as befits the Archwizard or rather Necromancer. Then he made a few spare Yakuza and stocked his demoplanes with them as guards and wish-ready troopers. He decided to rotate his 10 Yakuza and make the names more like titles. They were batteries and shields after all. Simulacrum was a 7th level spell and used 1500 GP worth of ruby dust, snow, and some fingernails of him. So his constructs were soon operating like a factory, turning out shiny and fully loaded batteries.